Hello and welcome. I am Eric, aka Bearded Printer. I enjoy doing the things and accomplishing the stuff. I will be doing stuff in Fusion today just to show how I would create something like this. It is a hollow Christmas tree printed in vase mode that incorporates the use of a tea light. So I'm going to show how I do this and just show some neat tricks that you can do in Fusion to make something look good with minimal effort. So let's get started. Whoops, let's get started. Okay. So first we're going to start with some rudimentary shapes to get a tree going. I'm going to just start with a sketch here. And I'm just going to first start with a circle. Now, I don't know how big I want the circle to be. Let's just start with 100 millimeter diameter. Okay, and I'm going to keep this as a construction so that I'm not using any profiles in there. Okay, and I'm going to create a line that goes up the middle, and I want it to connect with the circle. Okay, I'm going to create some geometry here. Let's just do this. Okay. 40 degrees seems about right. This can be construction. Okay, now let's do a mirror across this line. Okay, and now I'm going to use a circular pattern to select both of these and use this as my center point at the origin, and I want it to be 4. Okay, so there we go. Now I want to create another angle so that we have stuff right here too. So instead of 4, I'm going to adjust it because I don't feel like this is good enough. So I'm going to click on this middle icon here, double click it, and now I can change the pattern from 4 to 8. Boom. So there's the bottom of our tree. I'm going to hit confirm. Now, pro tip, if I'm still in the sketch, I can hit E, it'll finish my sketch for me and automatically be ready to extrude. So I can select this, and because I'm lazy and I don't want to like manually select everything, I'm just gonna right click and drag. But what did that do? It unselected the things I already had selected. So what you could do is you can hold down Shift. Shift will select everything and not unselect other things. So there we go. Now let's extrude it up. That's looking more like a star. Well, let's do this. Taper angle. Let's do, I don't know, 45? Is that enough? 40. 50. Let's try 55. That seems right. And then let's make it so it's only up 10. Oh, there we go. Now I'm going to select that and extrude it again. I'm going to go up a little bit further, but taper angle, I'm going to do -30. So it's more gradual. Okay, so let's just bring that up there. Now I'm going to want kind of an alternating pattern. So I'm going to create an offset plane off of this to go down a little bit. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want there to be a sudden stop at the top where the others are jutting out. So I want the others to jut out midpoint. So let's create another sketch. Now, one feature that I like using a lot is this intersect feature. I pinned this to my toolbar. If you don't see this, you can go to create, go down to here to project/include, and then select intersect. And what that'll do is anywhere where an object intersects your sketch plane, it'll leave a mark here. So I can get a reference for everywhere this tree is intersecting with my sketch plane. So I'll hit OK, and you can see everywhere it intersects. Now I'm going to make this construction lines because I'm not going to want to use those. But I do want a reference to the measurements that I had previously used. Because if I want to go back and change it from 40 degrees to say 35, I want that reference. And I'll show you what that looks like after I finish this part. So I'm going to create this driven one. So I have this reference. It's 40 degrees. You can see D10 right there. I can use D10. Okay. So now I'm going to create a construction circle using, and by the way, over here, the line type, I have construction selected. And to toggle that on and off, I hit X. So I can do that. Okay. So now I have where I want to go out. And you know what I actually want to do? I'm going to project this face because I want to go off of those points. So let's create another circle that goes out this far. And I'm going to create a line that goes out here. Okay. And I want this line to be connected to this dot. Right now, I can move it around. I don't want it to move around. So I'm going to click on coincident, click on this dot, and click on this line. There we go. So you can see the line turned white. It's hard to see because of this object here, but if I make the object go away, you can see the line is white. It's constrained, so I can't move it around now. And I want to have this star shape here, but rotated a certain amount of degrees. So let's create our lines here. And notice there's that square, that right angle constraint, that right angle symbol over there. If I click, it's going to apply a perpendicular constraint. I do not want that constraint. So I'm gonna hold down Control while I move around, and that'll keep it from snapping to that constraint. Okay. So I'm going to just go this far. I don't have to go a specific distance, but I'm gonna actually, just to make sure it's fully constrained, I'm going to add some lines here. I'm gonna make this horizontally constrained, and I'm going to make this angle the same as this. Now, instead of just typing 40, I can just click on this, and notice it puts D10 in there. So now I can hit enter, and there you go. So now, whatever the angle this is, this uses. So if I change that earlier in the timeline, it'll show the difference over here. So now I can do my mirror, the same that I did before. Okay. And I'm going to select these. I'm going to use my circular pattern around the center, and I'm going to choose 8. Okay. There we go. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit E for extrude. I'm going to select all these profiles. Whoops, I need to hold down Shift. Okay. And I'm going to bring back my previous body here. Let's go up 10. And I'm going to taper it. What did I do before? 55. Okay. So that comes out right there. And I'm going to choose a new body. Okay. Now I'm going to make this go away temporarily while I extrude this because I want to join this extrusion. So let's bring that up and let's do the taper angle of 30 degrees, negative 30, my bad. Hit OK. There. So now we have the second part of the trick done. Local Maker, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing a third time, but this last time we're going to bring it up to a point. So let's do another offset plane to bring it down. Let's go down another 5. I don't know, we can change it. We can change it. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit P for project, select this face and hit OK. Now I want this to be construction lines. So I'm going to highlight all that and hit X. Okay. So now we have this star. And I want to repeat this. I wonder if I could do... No, not a circular pattern. No, never mind. Okay, so I'm going to create a line from the origin to this point, and I'm going to hit D to create an overly constrained dimension, a driven dimension, so that I could use that. I could technically still use D10. This is D19, but I could still use D10. In fact, maybe I'll do that just for demonstration purposes. Okay, so maybe I don't even need that. So I'm going to create a circle around here, create a line that goes all the way up to the circle. And I'm going to hit X, so I'm not using construction lines anymore. Bring my line down here. And I hit D to dimension this, and I'm going to hit D10. That's 40 degrees. This is going to be a construction line. I'm going to mirror this over. Now I can select both of these, do my circular pattern, 8. Whoops. Select the origin, 8. Hit OK. There we go. I'm going to hit E. That automatically finishes my sketch for me. Let's select all this. And let's extrude up a little bit. Taper angle 55. Let's see. Probably want it up a little bit higher. Sure, that looks good. We want new body. Okay, I'm going to make this go away so that when I do this sketch or this extrude, it doesn't join that. So let's bring it up to a point. There we go. Boom. Okay, so now we have our tree. Now I'm thinking I probably want this a little bit lower. So I'm going to go back in my timeline to when I created this plane. And I'm going to double click it. I'm going to go -13. See how that looks. Let's go a little bit more. -15. There we go. I like that better. Okay, so now we've got a pretty simple Christmas tree. But now we're going to jazz it up a bit. So to do that, first I'm just going to join these. So I'm going to use this combine feature, select body 1, and I'm just going to select the rest of those for my tool bodies. That combines everything together into one. Okay, now let's make this go away. I actually need to have that come back. So I'm going to create a sketch. Oh, this is what I want to do. Okay, so let's bring this back. What I want to do is I want to create a plane that starts here. So I want the plane to be right here, but I want it to come out to this point. Now I remember that I used 100 millimeters for the diameter of the circle. Now a smart person would have created a parameter to do that. So what I'm going to do is create my parameters. So I'm going to change parameters, add this, and say tree diameter. CD. Put 100 in there. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to double click this. 3D. Done. Okay. So now if that changes, I can use that later on. So now I'm going to use this offset plane feature. Select this face. I'm going to go -3D divided by 2. Oh, but look. That just goes back to this point. So what do? Do I want to do math? I could use the Pythagorean theorem and remember how far up I extruded with the angle, and that would be Pythagorean theorem. But I could use math, or if I'm lazy and don't want to use math, I could do this. So I'm going to sketch from here. I'm going to hit P for project on that point. I'm going to just create a line that goes up here. Finish sketch. I'm going to go here and say plane at angle. Boom. So now I have a plane right at that point of the tree. So now if I change the dimensions of the tree, this will change with it. So if I go here, I'm going to change this to 120. Boom. Now, obviously, it's still broken up here, so I'm going to undo that. But that's just an example. Now, let's say if I go back here and I change this to 35. Boom. Now, it gave me a warning right here because of some errors it had while trying to extrude up to 35 millimeters at this taper angle. So it's just using what it remembers from cache memory. But yeah, anyway, so I don't want that to go away. So we don't need that sketch anymore. But now I can start a sketch here. I'm going to project this point. Now, is that actually a point, or is it... I don't know if it's actually a point. So I'm going to project this point, but I'm not going to use it because I don't know if it's 100% in the middle. I'm going to create this driven so I know how tall it is. And I'm going to create a solid... I'm going to create a fit spline. So I'm doing the same thing I did, a very similar thing to my ornaments. Okay. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay, and I want the distance between these to match this. Actually, I don't think that matters. Let's just do 130. Cool, that looks good. Let's delete this, we don't need it. We don't need that either. Okay, 130. All right, so now I'm gonna do a separate sketch here. Go up here. Now I'm going to project this, and I'm going to make an overly constrained sketch on that so I can use that on here. So if I change that later, this will follow suit. All right, so I got 2 lines there, okay? So now I'm gonna go over here to surface, and I'm going to create a loft from this line to this line. How neat is that? Okay, so we have a neat loft, and now I'm gonna thicken it. Let's do 0.75, but I want to make this symmetric over here. So it's 0.75 in both ways, so it's 1.5 millimeters thick. Hit OK. All right, so now we have this little squiggly body that we can work with. So I'm going to go back over here and click circular pattern, choose this. I'm going to go around the center origin, and let's go 40, see if that works. Okay. And actually, I probably want to make that a little thicker. So instead of 0.75, let's do 1.25. Just a little thicker. Because this is going to be printed in base mode, so we want more space in between these things for light to get through. Okay, so now let's do a combine. I'm going to select body 5. And I'm just going to drag through everything. It's going to take a bit to compute this. All right, it looks like it's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't compute very well when you have a lot of complicated geometry trying to be combined together. When that happens, usually I just have to adjust how many instances I'm creating of that. Okay, so we have these 2 bodies now. So what I'm going to do with the original tree and this thing, let's do a combine. I'm going to choose intersect. Okay. And I want to combine this with this. Hit OK. Boom. Now, one thing that we might want to do is, because I'm using, for the patterns, I'm using 8 for each level, I probably want it divisible by 8. So I'm going to go back here, and instead of 40, is 40 divisible by 8? I think 40 is divisible by 8. Let's keep it at 40, because that's divisible by 8. Math. Okay. Well, there we go. So we have our tree that can be printed in base mode, but this is not very conducive to bed adhesion. I could easily picture individual little things peeling up from the build plate. So I'm going to want to do something a little different to ensure there's good adhesion. So before I do my combines, or before I do anything related to that, I'm going to go back here to this tree. And nope, I'm wrong. I'm going to come back here 1 step. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of both of these. Now, I can't remember the angle I used. I went up 10 millimeters, but it was 55. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to use the same sketch I did before. And I want to go up 5. And I want my taper angle to be 55. Okay. So I'm going to use that. So let's step forward on our timeline when we did our combine. All right, so we got this tree and we have this thing. I'm just going to combine those. So I'm going to make sure I have join selected, combine this tree with this object, hit OK. There we go. So now we have the bottom of the tree that can be printed without issue. But now, what if I want to put a tea light in there? Well, let's do that. Okay, so before we do anything, I'm going to do a section analysis, and from the front, and I'm going to flip it so it's in front of me. We can see it cut in half. We have this stuff going on, and we want enough space to where we can fit a tea light. Now, this is going to be printed in vase mode, which means anywhere that's solid is going to be empty as you print it. So we want all of this. So we probably want to add some lines in here and make it more solid. So what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to create some lines here. And let's kind of taper it down like this. See how that looks. Okay. So if I do a revolve of this, everything that it fills in will be empty space when it's printed in vase mode. So let's finish that. I'm going to choose revolve. And because I already had the profile selected and there was only one profile, it automatically had the profile selected and it's waiting for me to select an axis. So now I can just select that axis, and instead of cut, I'm going to change this to join. Okay. Now let's get rid of that section analysis, and you can see it still looks pretty good. There's not a lot of issue here, even with me filling it in that much. Okay, now we have space to put in our tea light. I'm trying to remember the dimensions I used. I think it was 45. We'll just use 45 for the sake of this demo. Okay, so I'm going to create a hole in here for the tea light to go. 45, done. Okay, and let's just go up 5 millimeters to cut a hole in there. And I'm going to create a thread. Select this. It's going to choose 45, and I'm going to click this because I don't want it to be modeled. I want it to be actually, I want the geometry actually created. Okay, so there we go. Now remember, this is going to be empty space. So we don't have to worry about drilling in a hole here for the part of the tea light to go in. That's going to be gone. So we have our threads here to thread in we have our little trunk here. And last year I did a similar model that's a tea light Christmas tree. It's a lot more simple than the one I'm designing, but I used this. So I'm just going to reuse this same one with the same threads to screw into the bottom. And I do remember I had to add a clearance to the threads. So even though it's already set at 45, I'm going to hit Q. If you don't remember the hotkey, you can hover over it. This is what the feature is called. It's called press pull. You can hit Q or press this feature, and you can select all these. I'm going to do -0.6. So that gives me extra clearance so that it can easily screw in. Okay, so there we go. Now I need to... What else do I need to do? I think that might be it for it to screw in. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Let's export this. I'm just going to save this as Christmas tree tea light example. Okay, so let's export this. Save as mesh. I'll show you how I set this up in the slicer. Okay, let's go back to STL and just save it there. Okay. All right, let's open up a new one. It's thinking. By the way, this is something that I'm testing out. I've taken one of my containers and sliced it up. So these ones print in fuzzy mode, and then this blue stuff is actually poly smooth. So this is matte Polymaker PLA, and this is poly smooth PLA. And I've enabled interlocking so that the two materials don't separate from each other. So that's going to be a fun little experiment. Okay, so let's import that. Christmas tree tealight example. Okay, so there's our Christmas tree. Now, if I just do the default settings for the vase mode, it's not going to work very well. So if I choose spiral vase, I'm going to choose yes, and watch what happens when I try to slice this. Because there's a hole, where are my threads? That, and then look underneath, there are these spaces. Now I'm going to change to line type. You see here, that has nothing to rest on as it's going around. That's going to be a mess. So what I do is I go to strength, and I know it's 5 millimeters tall. So going back here, I went 5 millimeters in. So, and then this is 5 millimeters tall from here to here. So knowing that I have 5 millimeters to work with, actually, I want to change something else, but we'll get to that after I do the slicer things. I'm going to go here to strength, and for bottom layers, and because it's at 0.2 millimeter layer height, what's 5 millimeters times 0.2? Wow, math. So what I mean is how many 0.2 millimeters to equal 1 millimeter? That's 5. And then I have 5 millimeters to go. So that would be 25 layers. 25 bottom layers seems pretty excessive. In fact, I'm hiding stuff with my face. Let me get rid of my face real quick so you can see it. Okay. So bottom, not paint penetration. 25 bottom layers. That's a lot of bottom layers. But if we slice it, our threads will remain intact. But that's a lot. I mean, look at how fat that is. That's a lot of, solid layers right there. So let's bring my face back. Let's do something about that. So we're going to go back here, and before we join this onto the main body, so we did that extrude right here. I'm going to roll back my timeline back when I created that. So that's what this is. I'm going to do this. Shell this 2 millimeters. Boom. Let's jump forward to see what happens. It's going to think a little bit because we've got some processing to do. Okay. There we go. So now we have this little area in here that's cut out. So you'd only have 2 millimeters. I could cut out a little bit more. Maybe I can make it 1 millimeter thick. Well, let's go back here. I'm going to double click on the shell feature. Let's do 1. Boom. So it's only 1 millimeter thick now. Let's see if it works. There we go. We got 1 millimeter thick bottom. There we go. Let's export this. Save it. Whoops. Where did I save that? It should have... Oh, it did V1. I don't want V1. Okay. I'm going to delete that before I forget. I don't want V1 in there. Deleted. Okay. So now let's go back here. Go back to prepare. I'm going to right click and choose reload. And now you can see that that's been cut out. So that's not going to use nearly as much material. There we go. So scrubbing down here, you can see that it's still a lot of material, but at least we have these like vacancies here, so it doesn't use nearly as much, right? But we still have a lot of material around here that we're using, so maybe I can cut that out. So let's do this. I'm going to go back here. Let's enable our section. So we have a problem where this material right here, before we start vase mode, is all solid. So I'm going to make that not solid. So let's do another sketch. I'm going to use this sketch as reference. So I'm going to project this. Okay. Hit OK. And then I'm going to intersect this top. So I have that as a reference. Okay. I'm going to bring this over and then bring this down like this and then bring that over like this. And I want that to connect to that line. I'm going to select this and choose offset. And let's have it be offset by 1 millimeter. The other direction. Okay. And I'm just going to create a second line that goes across here. Whoops. That's not what I wanted. Okay. And this is going to be 1 millimeter as well. And let's do another intersect where this intersects. Let's bring that to the bottom. And I need this bottom reference as well. So let's see where that intersects. Now I can trim that. Let's come back to the front. And I want, whoops, I didn't want to trim that. I want this distance. Let's have this distance be 2 millimeters, just to make sure there's strength there with the threads. Okay. Now I believe we have a good profile to use. Let's get rid of this sketch so we can select that. I'm going to select this mid line here for that axis and cut all of that out. So that looks kind of funny, but we'll see what it looks like when we export it. Okay, so let's save as mesh, hit OK. I don't want the V1 there. Replace it. Let's go back here. Reload. Slice. Let's see what that looks like. There we go. So now we have that vacancy there before we print it, or before it goes into vase mode. And then you can see as it gets into vase mode, it's just printing the outer part of the tree. But anywhere where it's solid, we've kind of cut away. So to save on material. Right, so there's our vase mode tree with our threads to be able to thread in this. So we can just print another one of these, print this, thread it in, if I can thread it in. I think this might be childproof. Okay, there we go. Thread it in, and then you can put a tealight in there and it'll shine through if you use a translucent or transparent filament. So there you go.